John Wild here to give you another look at vintage action figures, and this time we're going to be looking at the Shogun Warriors Godzilla toy from Mattel, 1978. In the late 1970s, the United States was Godzilla crazy. Beginning in 1976, Godzilla vs. Megalon had a massive campaign to promote the movie. This was the most successful release of a Godzilla film up until that time. Then, in 1977, Marvel Comics released its Godzilla comic book, running for 24 issues. Also that year, NBC TV premiered Godzilla vs. Megalon on primetime TV, with John Belushi and Gilda Radner starring. 1978 was going to be another big year for Godzilla, with a new Godzilla released to the screen. Also, NBC TV had a new Godzilla cartoon airing on Saturday morning, beginning in the fall. Mattel Toys had already produced the Poppy-owned giant Machigna's toy line as the Shogun Warriors. Following up, Mattel secured the rights to produce Godzilla figures, and to add them to the successful toy line. But Mattel could not produce the toy in time to coincide with the premiere of the TV cartoon. So Bandai Toys was contracted to produce this Godzilla figure for Mattel, and the release of the toy came to fruition. This was the first licensed Godzilla toy released in the United States. There are no less than 5 different variations of the Mattel Godzilla, box variations and figure variations. Now, let's get a good look at my Shogun Warriors Godzilla toy from Mattel. Godzilla was the shortest of the Shogun Warriors, 19.5 inches in height. On the bottom of the Godzilla figure, he has a yellow bottom and he has 3 casters that the figure rolls on. The figure rolls very well on these casters. It's also brand stamped copyright 1977 Toho Company Limited, USA. Earlier versions actually say Japan on it. Getting a look at the front of the feet, we see he has yellow toenails, but unfortunately these are made from a very brittle plastic and often they're cracked. The figure's legs also articulate up and down. In the original release of this figure, there were counterweights in the legs to help keep the figure balanced. The tail of the Godzilla figure actually came as a separate piece, and there are variations of the tail. I'm not going to take mine off to tell you which variation I have, but I do know that the ridges on the back of the spine here of the figure were different in earlier releases. The tail does articulate slightly left and right. I don't really like doing it because often the tail is found cracked. Godzilla's tail actually works as kind of a counterweight to keep the figure standing. If you're looking to purchase a Godzilla figure, you have to beware there are reproductions made of this tail. Godzilla's left arm articulates up and down. It also turns at the wrist. They're really nice sculpting details, and his fingernails are painted yellow. Godzilla's right arm has an action feature, the firing fist. The right arm of the Godzilla figure also articulates up and down. The action feature of the right hand is activated by a button in his elbow. Unfortunately, the button on mine is somewhat missing, but it does still work. So here we go. Getting a closer look at the fist of the right hand of the Godzilla figure, we see that it does articulate at the wrist just like the left hand. On the business end of this, we see the tab that holds the arm in is starting to show some stress over time. There's great sculpting, and the fingernails are also painted yellow. Look out for paint chips. The fist goes right back into the figure like this. Be aware there are reproductions made of the Godzilla firing fist. Finishing up on the head, there's a lever on the back of this Godzilla toy. There is a reinforced variation of this lever, and often this lever is broken. Pressing the lever activates the tongue or the atomic breath. Here's a look at the detail on the tongue. Mine has a little bit of wear. There are paint applications on Godzilla's face. Let's get a good look at those. There are also color variations for the Godzilla figure. This one is the darker green version, but there's also a lighter green version. Either a coincidence or a bit of genius, little army men seem to work perfect with this scale figure. And when I was a kid, these army men often defended Godzilla's attack, unsuccessfully most of the time. Let's get a good overall look at the figure. And now the back of the figure. The Mattel Godzilla figure was a status symbol toy back in my day as a child. Lucky kids got this toy, but there were so many choices at the time, unfortunately, I never had this as a kid. But I played with it at friends' houses, so for years I planned on getting one. Luckily, a few years ago, a friend of mine sold me his, with the promise that I would only resell it back to him. This toy is now a treasured collector's item, commanding hefty prices when sold complete and unbroken. With each new generation of Godzilla movies, this Mattel toy still stands the test of time as a very sought-after piece of Godzilla memorabilia. Did you have this Mattel Godzilla as a child? Did you purchase one as a collector? Do you think this Godzilla toy is worth the hype? Leave a comment. Let's get some good discussion going in the comments section. I would like to thank you for watching my video. Please like, share, and subscribe to catch my latest uploads. And until next time, oh no, Godzilla!